না ডাইরেক্ট
ইন্ট্রোডিউস কৰিব
ওকে ঠিক আছে মই জয়েন কৰিছো you can see me
Rana start
fan এক মিনিট আছে Okay, good morning everyone. Am I audible? Good morning everyone.
yeah you are
Hello. Okay, good morning everyone. Should we start? Okay, welcome all of you to our next day session on capacity building organized by History Department in collaboration with IQAC Barhola College. Welcome all of you to our next day session. I would like to introduce our resource person for today's session, Mr. Kaushik Deka sir. He is the senior editor, India Today magazine, who hails from Assam and presently lives in Delhi. He is a noted journalist, writer, and prolific editor. He is an alumnus of two reputed institutions of our country, that is Katan and Indian Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi. He is also famous for his outstanding writing ability as well as solid grasp on the news, working knowledge of public relations, and familiarity with social media. People know him for his in-depth reporting in most of the national issues as well as issues related to Northeast India, especially Assam. His scholarly articles based on the socio-political issues of Northeast India shows his concern for his motherland. He has interviewed till the date almost all the noted personalities of India from all the spheres of the society in his magazine. It is very much proud for us. And he also published two books as a co-author, The Secret Killing of Assam, which is self-explanatory of his concern for Assam. And another book is Baba Ramdev Phenomena from Books to Market, which is based on Baba Ramdev, the Yoga Guru. This is also a internationally reported book, and this is one of the best-selling books. I strongly believe that our participant will be benefited from his lecture, and they will carry a positive mindset to face an interview after this session. We are very much happy to have you, sir, as a resource person. Please, sir, please start your session. Please, sir.
Thank you so much. I hope I am audible to everyone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much for this lovely introduction. I am really honored. I don't know whether I deserved all that, but thanks anyway. I am not very used to giving speeches, especially to youngsters, because I think youngsters know much more than we used to 20s. So I would have preferred this to be an interactive session, but I don't think that's possible over Zoom. There will be a lot of issues. So I'll go one by one, and I'll hope that I don't put everyone to sleep during the process. So the subject that has been given to me is primarily related to facing interviews or preparing oneself for a job in future. That's a very important thing and very crucial thing for everyone's life. But at the same time, the preparation, I think, doesn't start if I have to talk from my personal experience, from for a month or for 2 or a year, it has to start right at the very beginning, since probably since you start going to school or you start reading, learning. In a sense, not exactly for job interview, but you must first figure out what exactly you want to do in life. And that's very important. And it's not necessary that you have to do what the trend is, because unless and until you enjoy doing what you do, no matter how much money you make, no matter what you do, no matter how much success you gain, you probably would never be a happy professional. And if you are not a happy professional, uh, most likely that you cannot contribute to the mankind the way you would have preferred, or even to your organization or to the business that you would be doing. So the key to that preparation, if I can say so, is first to figure out
It
what you
is not nowhere, Phil.
what there is a disturbance anyway, what you
Hello, hello.
exactly want to do in life and how you want to go about it. So there will be several hurdles. In fact, these hurdles right at the very beginning will prepare you much better for a simple job interview or a job application, or any work that you would do later, because this struggle is much more tougher and much more important, in a sense that, for instance, if you want to do something which is not very encouraged in your vicinity or in your locality or in the ecosystem that you live in. For instance, in my home state, Assam, like most of you are in, the if you are good in studies, then your journey is set. Means parents or teachers or the family members or anyone who would know you would encourage you to become a doctor or an engineer or a college teacher. You may not enjoy any of the three. I'm not saying that these are not great professions. They have tremendous contributions to the society in their own right, but you may not enjoy the same job. So you have to figure out, and if you are good in studies, there is a bigger problem, because people would expect you to go for these kind of things. And if you say something else, then you may be branded as a mad, insane guy. And those who are not very academically bright, and it doesn't mean that they are not bright people. Academics is not the only thing in life. They may have some more interest, some different kind of interest. So they should go for those things, and they should actually um, try to find new avenues, more avenues to reach to their goal, and and enhance their own skill set, which is easier said than done. But if you start doing that right, at a very early stage, then you will learn how to actually fight the later process of, say, for instance, going for a job interview, or facing an interview, or preparing your own personality for that kind of job, because by then you would not even need to prepare your persona for that job, because you have already been struggling for years to reach to that level. So finding your goal, what do we call, many people will call that, finding your call in life, is the most important and the most basic thing to prepare yourself for a future, for the kind of job you would want to do. I can give you my own example. Devojit Dora, he knows this very well, that I was a rank holder in class 12, and I was a fairly good student, at least till college. But many people call me insane, because when I said I want to become a journalist, because you don't need to have a good career, a good academic career to become a journalist in India. At least till now, you can just become a journalist if you are not doing anything great in life. That's how it has been happening. So, and I had my own part of struggle to convince people that yes, I want to go for that. And that struggle perhaps prepared me. By the time when I had to face an interview, I was so obsessed and passionate about my work and what I want to do, that unknowingly I had prepared myself to face that interview or face that grilling long before I actually faced that interview. For instance, when I went to the interview for IAMC. Even before becoming a journalist, I had to enter this institute called Indian Institute of Mass Communication. And there was a group discussion, there was an interview. And coming from the background and coming from that small town, I had zero experience of even facing an interview or even doing a formal communication with anyone, even with my teachers. So, and straight away, I was into a group discussion and I was into a formal interview. But I could score on that. I could ace that interview or that group discussion primarily because I was for all the while, all these 3 years in college, and even before that, since I was probably in eighth standard, I was preparing mentally preparing myself with loads of information on journalism, with loads of inputs from the world of current affairs, and also trying to learn the traits probably that I would need to become a journalist. So these things unknowingly, knowingly helped me to ace that interview that I faced in interview, and later when I had to apply for jobs. So this is the non-theoretical part, that before you get into that stage of preparing yourself for an interview, you need to prepare yourself. You basically, if I have to sum up, it is like to have that emotional, to have that intelligent, and to have that job quotient for that particular job that you would like to go for. That's the first and the most important part. Now the second thing is that application. Now I will talk about, in most jobs, it's a very important part. When you write that application, or the many people call it cover letter, to an organization. Now, while you do that, you must do some kind of research on that organization, because you must also know that why you are joining this organization. There are two situations. Either you may be liking that organization, like I was obsessed with India Today magazine since I was in eighth standard or maybe earlier, or there is a desperate situation that you need a job and this organization seems reputed, or there is a possibility that you might get a job over there. So these are the conditions that will make us apply to that organization. Or you may be applying to multiple organizations. But even when you do that, when you are applying to multiple organizations, you must carefully do a study, do your own research on every individual organization, because that's when it becomes critical, and that's why it is important that you do the research, because you need to understand what this organization would want from you, what this organization stands for, and what they might be looking for. And that makes your job easier, in a sense that you know that, okay, this organization, say, again, I'll give my own example because I know about my own field. Say, for instance, you know what kind of thing India Today produces. It produces a magazine. And what do we write in magazine? They write long stories. They write elaborate, in-depth stories. So if you are just a fast mover, and your expertise is in just breaking the news for 5 minutes and all that, you may not be suitable for that job. So when you would even write that application, you cannot convince that editor. That editor would not understand that you are ready to transform yourself into that kind of job profile. So there is an important factor here, that you do your research, and when you approach that organization, you try to convince, while you write that particular cover letter, why you may be useful for that particular organization. Because any organization tomorrow, when you will be a recruiter, or I have to give you a very crude example, that when you employ someone in your household, or you employ someone in your work field, what do you look for? You basically look for a person who would suit your purposes, not someone who would come to you just like randomly, and you would be giving him a job, or employment, or any engagement purely on the human emotion, or thinking that this guy is desperate, so I need to give him a job. So you would always look for your own interest. So prepare that application, which many of us, we think that, oh, it's just a random cover letter. It's not. That particular cover letter, the moment, for instance, if I get a letter from a budding journalist, I would look for a few things. How the guy is writing. If he cannot write a cover letter without a mistake, why would I even try to give him a job in a profession where communication is the most important thing? And likewise, if there is a professor trying to recruit another young lecturer, so that professor would like to see how the young lecturer is presenting his own area of expertise in that cover letter. If it is just a random letter that I am so and so and I want a job and this is the thing, I want to apply for this, it doesn't excite anyone. It doesn't help you stand out. Your job is the old English saying is there that the first impression is the last impression and the best impression. So in the very first impression, you must ensure that the person who is reading your cover letter, he takes note of it. He figures out that okay, this man or this woman is different, and this person is offering me something which I may require, which is of any relevance to my organization, to the kind of work that I do. So this is very key, how you write the cover letter. And you'd again, you'd know how to write a cover letter. I'll have to go back if you prepare yourself for long enough. If you know your job, if you know your profession, if you are passionate about your profession, you definitely know who stands for what in your profession, and accordingly you can offer your kind of services, the uniqueness that you would offer, and you can offer that to the job provider, and it will come very easy to you. There is no set formula. There cannot be one type of cover letter or the job application for all professions. So you have to first understand the nuances of your profession, which can happen only when you invest good amount of time all along, not just you prepare for some 10 days or 15 days. So that's a very key thing. Second thing is that CV preparation. Okay, that's another important part. Quite often I see that resume or CV which will go for 7 pages, 8 pages. We all busy people, people who would be recruiting, people who are at top positions. They have lots of things to do. And please understand, you are not the only person who would be applying. So think of it. India is a huge country with a huge population. So for every job, you would have thousands of applications. So if I have to read 7 pages each, would I read? And then if I see a CV which starts with some random statements like I want to contribute to the organization, this and that, which would be copy and pasted from some job application website, and which I would see almost in every second CV. Why would I go beyond that? Why would I think that okay, this person is something unique? So it's very important to keep your CV very short, preferably reduce it to 1 page. And it's very easy at the age of 21, 22, 25. You probably would not be achieving so much that you need 7 pages to write, unless you want to put anything and everything that you have done in life on your CV. So it's very important that you make your CV very crisp, and you put what you have done, your qualification very upfront. And now, again, when you put your qualification, for instance, you are applying to an engineering job or in a particular domain. So how would you apply? Uh, you need to give your the kind of qualification that you have, and you think that these are the qualifications, these are the skill sets, more than qualification, the skill sets that you have gathered, which should be applicable for that particular company, group, organization, or any medium that they are working in. Because when I go through a resume, or any recruiter will go through a resume or CV, he would look for the skill set that he is looking for. He's not looking at the individual, he's not looking at the face. He doesn't know who you are. All he wants to know what you know, what you can do for him. So put it upfront. What is that unique thing that you have in? What is the skill set that you have gathered? Make it short and highlight it so that he gets instantly, the moment I pick it up, the resume I see, I know, okay, this man has this skill set, this kind of qualification. So either I go for him or I check him whether he really does have those skill sets or he's just bluffing. So you will at least reach the next level, which is very important. And I keep telling everyone that keep the resume, keep the CV short, crisp, and give only the information that is relevant. At times, it makes no sense to give your hobbies because nobody is interested in your hobbies. I don't care what your hobby is. If I have to recruit you for India Today, all I would want to know is that, do you know how to write a good story? Do you have enough general knowledge information? Do you keep yourself abreast with the day-to-day information? I do not care whether you read 5 newspapers or 10 newspapers. You are supposed to read newspapers. What else you would do if you are going to become a journalist? So uh, don't give out the obvious information. Give the information that will make you stand out in the CV. The third thing that I am asked to talk about is the dress code. Now, I probably am not the right person to talk about it. Still, I will try to, because I have never thought much about going for a dress code for an interview or anything. And I've been lucky enough, means
Seminar
without
Borholarles. Johat
without probably
Borholarles.
even someone should mute him. Uh, Without even thinking about dress code, I have been lucky to crack interviews. But yes, in certain profession, the dress code is very important. And in fact, for more or less, dress code is important in a sense that you should not look obscene in what you wear. You should not attract too much attention to yourself, and you should give an impression that you are decent, you are neat. The neatness is very important. What you wear must not be of high value. You don't need to wear expensive clothes. You don't need to wear even high end formal shirts, or wear an expensive belt, or wear shoes. It's not required. You can wear normal, decent looking shoes, shirts, trousers. But the most important part is neatness. And when I talk about dress code, I also include personal hygiene, which is very important in many cases. Like, you may be wearing a fantastic dress, or you may have bought it off the shelf for a fortune. But if you're stinking, you are not going to crack the interview. So you have to be very careful when you go for the interview. India is a humid country. In most of the time, in summer, it's very bad for most Indians. So you have to take enough care that by the time you reach that interview, you are not sweating. Nobody would care whether you have come by bus, or whether you have come by public transport, or you have to stand in the sun. People would look at you if you are sweating, if you look unprepared, if you don't look neat. The impression goes off. I know it's unfair, but that's how it is. Means you have to live with unfairness in life. So more than the dress code, you need to be careful about what you do, how you present yourself, how the neatness of your appearance. You need to be. You don't need to be even clean shaven. I don't agree with that. That if you are going for a job, you have to be clean shaven. But that doesn't mean you grow a uneven, unkept stubble for days, and you go for an interview. Even if you have a beard, even if you have a stubble, you can make it look neat. There are multiple ways. You may be growing hair. You may have a long hair. You don't take care of it. You look unkept. You look disorganized. So, because at the end of the day, in your profession, what they would require is, apart from your skill set, your organizing skills. You need to be organized. You need to be very careful about how you go for your work, because you would be, at the end of the day, tomorrow if you're hired, you would be representing that organization. People would look for you. People would see that, okay, this guy comes from this and this organization, so you are a representative of that organization. You are the face of that organization. So in that context, you need to look neat and presentable. You need to be someone who the organization would like to showcase there. So that's very important. So the fourth point is personal development. Now, this is a very vast area, personal development, because every person is unique, every person is different. So, in most cases, what happens is personal development. In the name of personal development, what do? We just try to create an individual out of you, which you may not be, just to fit yourself into the requirements of some job interviewer or some organization, which is which can work for some people, which at times can help you get a job. But a month later or a year later, you will be exposed because you are not the person that you showcased yourself to be, or you created a person out of you, and you can't live two lives. You can't remain someone who you are not. You would not enjoy your work. So it's very important that you uh, present yourself upfront the way you are, the person that you are. Now, the key here is that whether your persona fits the profession or the organization. That's a very key question. My advice, which is very idealistic advice, is that you never ever go for an organization or a profession that you think you are not suitable for, or you do not have the aptitude for it. Now, that's a very idealistic situation because in India, when you don't have enough jobs, when you do not know whether you would get your next meal where from, in that kind of situation, you cannot be that idealistic. And we are all asked to make certain compromises. But even when you do that compromises, you need to be careful about how far you go. Where is the balance? We all make compromises, even while you are in the profession. You follow certain things. The most basic thing is that you all do that. Boss is always right. Teacher is always right. For college students, I think most of you are college students, so you would always follow this thing that my professor is always right. If you want good scores, even if you do not agree with what he or she may be saying. Likewise, we in our offices, most people tend to agree with the boss because it's good for the safety of the job. But that exactly is not a personal development. Personal development to me is enhancing your own qualities. We all have certain qualities. I'll give you an example. Say, for instance, I am a journalist. I work for India Today, and there would be 20 other journalists in India Today. So everybody is doing some basic thing, writing stories or doing stories for television, because India Today is a big group. Some work for the TV, some work for the print, and some work for both. So in that context, all 20 is a good journalist, because if they have entered India Today, they may have had some qualities in them. Now, how do you stand out? And this is where personality development comes in. You have to first figure out, and again, I go back to the first key thing, that you need to develop yourself all along, not just for a month. So you need to understand what are your strength areas. I like doing a lot of research. I go deep in research and spend 10 hours at a stretch just trying to find one number or one bit of information. I can do that. That's my strength. And I work to that. There are journalists who would not like to do that. He would like to spend probably 10 hours on the field running around and showing a mic to a politician or a bureaucrat or a celebrity and trying to get that one line that he can showcase on TV, what you call bite. I'm not into that. Now, if I try to do that because he's successful in doing that, I may fail badly. And if he tries to do what I am good at, he will fail badly because he doesn't have the aptitude to do what I do. I do not have the aptitude to what he does. We both are doing the same profession, journalism. But even in the context of journalism, also, we have different aptitude. And that's is inbuilt in our persona. That's what we are all about. And this is the thing that you need to develop. This is the thing you need to nurture, to find your aptitude, to find what you are comfortable in, to find what is the good thing in you. Every person is a mix of good and bad, and we can very well figure that out. We know ourselves. Socrates and all great philosophers, they always kept saying that. You must have read all of these by now, that look inside. So you need to look inside and find out. And it's very easy. You know what you are good at and what you are bad at, what you enjoy and what you do not enjoy. And the moment you figure that out, you know that, okay, this is what I want to do and I'll go for this. And you'd very well inculcate certain other traits also, which can actually enhance your inbuilt strength. So if you are good at writing, say for instance, you enjoy writing, you may not be a good television writer, television reporter. So if you are good in writing, so try to enhance your writing skill. You improve it, not just don't sit still that, okay, I'm good at writing, so I would be okay with my job. I will easily get a job, and when I get a job, I'll do well. No, there is no end to improvement. And personality development doesn't mean you how fluently you speak English or how fluently you speak Hindi or how fluently you speak Assamese. Language speaking is not the only personality development. Or personality development doesn't mean that you walk straight with your head high and with a swagger. These are very superficial and external things which will come to you the moment you are knowledgeable, the moment you have worked on yourself. I'll give you an example, simple. The day you have done your homework in your colleges or in schools, the day you have done your homework or you have done your job, whatever assignments given to you, or you are well versed with what the teacher will teach you. Think of that day, how confidently you enter the classroom. You just wait for the teacher to ask something. If you know the answers, you will raise your hand, you will speak out, and then think of it. The day you are probably unprepared, you missed certain classes, and you know the teacher will come and ask you something, and you will be embarrassed in front of the entire class. You'd hate that day, and you can't walk with a swagger that day, no matter how hard you try. So the key is to equip yourself with information, with the skill set, with the kind of aptitude that you would need for that job. And the moment you have all that swagger, all that confidence, or the personality that people call that impression that you may want to give will come automatically. Because if you know the subject, you do not need to blabber, you do not need to bluff. You just will say what you want to say and with logic, and things will flow one after one. So that confidence, to build that confidence, you need to have faith in yourself. And how do you have that faith? It's very easy. That faith will come to you the moment you know that you feel that you know your subject, and that doesn't happen over a day. As I'll repeat, it's a long term process. It will take a lot of time, it will take a lot of hard work. And if you have been late in doing that, it doesn't matter, you can start even today. Okay, you would have to do probably double the hard work now, but you can still start it. You haven't missed it. But be honest to yourself. Don't just force yourself into doing something just because that's trendy, that's fashionable. Like for instance, now a lot of students go for, I keep repeating about my own profession because this is what I know. A lot of students or youngsters would like to go for television journalism just because they see the journalist sitting on the studio, sitting in the studio and giving bhashan and becoming the household celebrities, or taking the mic and speaking to a lot of celebrities. But they do not see that beyond doing that, there's a lot of hard work, and it's a high pressure job. That glamour part comes because you are in a convenient position. You are on the screen. But to reach to that level, you needed a lot of hard work. And to sustain and to be there also, you need a lot of hard work, which may not necessarily be just journalism. There are many other things also you may need to do, which you will learn on the job. So no matter how you prepare yourself for that confidence swagger and or the language that you speak and all that, it will not be of any use if you cannot, if you do not have that inbuilt knowledge inside you and the skill set that you require. The fifth thing is how to face that interview. Uh, Facing interview is the to me it's the easier part. Once you have done these four things, then facing interview is mostly someone will ask you about things that you need to know. I can understand facing an interview for instance, if you go for an many people give this example of IAS interviews that they are very tough and all that. In IAS interviews, mostly people do not try to know how much you know about this world. It's not possible for anyone to know everything. All they want to know, they will stick to a very significantly less portion of the interview to the kind of information that you have gathered. Most of the interview part is to understand your logical thinking and how you respond to a particular situation, because you would be an administrator. Likewise, if you are a journalist, I may, I can challenge any student who would come to me for a job or to my editor, that I can still ask a question for which he would not have an answer. Even if he prepares, I give the person 1 year to prepare about everything under the sun. I can still find a question to which he would not have an answer. So there would not be anyone who would know everything, and I'm not expecting that person to know everything. Of course, I would not expect a person to become a journalist if he comes and tells me I do not know who is the Prime Minister of India. There are certain basic information that is relevant for every profession. But more than information, in the interview, you would be tested for your aptitude, whether you are fit for the job or fit for that appointment or fit for that course or whatever. I mean, the interview could be for a course or for a job or for a short-term assignment. So the interviewer's sole purpose is to figure out whether you fit his requirement. And here again, in the CV that you had written, in the cover letter that you had written it, you had presented yourself as a fit case for his requirement. Here is your opportunity to bolster that further, to boost your case, to give more information, more reasons to him why you are the best candidate. And again, go back a step. If you have prepared enough about your subject or about the kind of thing that you are doing, you would not be afraid of the person asking you something that you would not know. Please remember, in all interviews, how much you know is not important. How do you react when you even do not know is more important. Uh, any interviewer is not expecting, if he is expecting, he is looking for something else which is not relevant here, is not expecting a perfect person or someone who knows everything. All he is expecting is a sincere person, a person with the aptitude for the job, and a person who has the ability to handle crisis. So when he would ask you a random question or something that you may not know, imagine it is a situation where you are facing a problem in your job and you do not have a ready-made answer and you do not know how to tackle it. So immediately you do not know. You are facing a crisis. So how would you react to that? Will you go berserk? Will you cry? Or will you sit still, think about it, and be upfront and be honest about it or be transparent about it? He's so in your the most important for you to do is to be transparent, be tactful, and give the impression that you are not budging, you are not against, or you are not fearful of taking challenge or facing a crisis. These are the things that interview will look for. And of course, there are certain which I do not need telling you. You would find in any guidebook that you have to be polite. You need to maintain certain etiquettes. You need to say good morning, good evening, or whatever. These are for kids. If you that those things, I do not know why you need to read them in a book or uh, gather those things as some kind of bullet points to crack an interview, because that's how you are. You meet a senior person on the street also, you say namaskar or hi or whatever. You pay respect. You do not talk to him with your chest high or with a swagger. You give that respect. You give that space. So this is how just think through. Means if you meet a senior person, how do you react? These are very simple, basic, common sense. You do not need a guidebook or a practical session to understand those things. Being polite, to show etiquette. These are most basic things your parents have been teaching you since you were born. So don't worry about those things. That those things will come to you. And even if you, in your nervousness, if you fail to say thank you at some point, the interviewer is not going to kill you for that. He's not bothered about. Yes, of course, you would find it a bit odd if you just enter the room, do not say hi, hello, and just sit down, which you probably would not do if you go to someone's house and meet someone. So unless you do something really obnoxious for small little things, don't fret about those things. Don't, if you had forgotten to say thank you in the previous answer, don't fret about it and fumble in your next answer. It doesn't make any sense because he's not thinking about the thank you. He's focusing on what you are answering in the next question. So be calm, which is very important. And to remain calm, nowadays there are multiple ways, from meditation to yoga to reading to God knows how many ways are there. I have never practiced any of them, and still I can maintain calm. I think that's also genetic or inbuilt. Some people are restless, some people are naturally calmer. Or maybe if you have lots of bad things happening to you early in life, you become calmer. But those are not important here. Try to, if something helps you, if meditation helps you, go for it. If yoga helps you, go for it. If there is no harm in seeking help or trying to figure out what can relax you, what can make you confident. These are things that are easily available nowadays in the era of YouTube and all that. But yes, uh, these are not mandatory things. The most important in all things that I have talked about till now, what is most important is knowledge. Knowledge about your domain. And knowledge doesn't come just from doing your classwork, doing your assignments, attending classes. Knowledge, whether you are a chemistry student, history student, political science, English, maths, engineer, doctor, knowledge is a 24/7 exercise. And knowledge is not about scoring high in the exam only. By scoring high, again I say your resume will look good. That's the first step. You might start getting a good job. You might, if you are from a good institute, if you have a good score, if you have a degree from a reputed institute, all you would do is you probably end up getting the first good job. But from then onwards, it's your knowledge that will help you. And in many cases, that good score and good institute may also not help you in getting a good job, because some recruiters are very particular about testing the person he would recruit on his own. So he would not care about which college you have come from, what degree you have, how much you scored in your 10+2, or maybe in your graduation, or maybe in your final exam. Trust me, till today, I've spent 20 years in journalism, nearly. Nobody has seen my 10+2 score. Nobody has seen my graduation score. So all that have sailed me through is whatever knowledge I gained. And when I said gathering knowledge, again, it can be a 24/7 process for you if you are interested in the subject. If you are genuinely interested in English literature, will you restrict yourself? Ask yourself, will you just restrict yourself in reading those many poems and novels and drama that's prescribed in your syllabus? You would just read. You would be a vociferous reader. You will just go for anything and everything that you get because you are obsessed, you are passionate about it. And that's how it is. And then when you read, tomorrow when you will go for an interview, you would have so many things to talk about that probably the interviewer will run out of time and questions. So be very confident once you gather enough information, enough knowledge, your job is done, half done. So facing the interview doesn't mean you have to be very particular with what you wear, what you say in terms of politeness and all that. Obviously, you have to be polite, but not necessarily that you know everything. All what is important is that you know the relevant things, and you present that you have the aptitude for the job, and that comes from the inherent knowledge that you gather all the while. The final thing is public speaking. Again, public speaking, some professions would need public speaking quite often. If you are a TV reporter, if you are a if you are a teacher, you need public speaking, which comes two ways over a course of experience, or some people have naturally, and some people try and practice it and develop it. Again, there are multiple forums and techniques available, which we'll find on YouTube and everywhere, how to go for public speaking, how to talk about certain things and all that. But the most important part, again, in public speaking is to know what you want to say. See, the fear of stage fright, or when you see hundreds of people sitting in front of you, everybody staring at you, looking at you, it frightens all of us. It frightens me even now. And you feel like, what do I say? They will make fun of me. That feeling would again go the moment you know what I know, they do not know. And I'm going to tell them something which they would learn today. And again, that will happen only when you know something, only when you know something specific. Today, all of you, this is much easier public speaking. All of you have invited me to speak about these things, believing that I know these things. I may or may not know these things, but I am believing that I know these things, and I am going berserk for last 45 minutes. I do not know how much I have made sense to you, but I am continuously speaking because two things I have: some information and around 20 years experience. I have blended these two. Of course, I cannot see most of you, so that's much easier for me. But even if you were in front of me, I would have assumed, oh, you people do not know anything of this. I am the most knowledgeable person. This wrong confidence is also very important. Could you mute, please? Someone is talking. This strong confidence is also very, very important when it comes to public speaking. But that confidence will also come to you if you know things. Why most teachers can keep talking about for hours in our classrooms, even if we, the backbenchers, would be sleeping behind, because they are believing these students are morons, they know nothing, and we have to give them knowledge. We are giving them knowledge. So this is the fun. When you go for a moment, you have to think that if I have been invited to speak here, if I need to speak here, I must believe that I have something new to talk about. I have something interesting to talk about. So if you are a habitual speaker, if you have the ability to go to blabber for hours, well and good. That's an inbuilt, and that's a quality you get by birth. But if you are not a fluent speaker, the important part is to prepare. You must know what you are going to talk about. Do your research. Say you know that tomorrow or day after you have to speak in your class or in your organization or somewhere where you need to speak. Prepare. You try to do research on what you have to speak about. Try to find information which is interesting. The key to public speaking, which I'm not following right now, is to make things interesting, to make things relevant for the person who is listening to. Just remember, recall, most of you are already students. When you were in college, when you are still in college, think of the teachers whose class you would love attending, and think of the teachers whose class you would die to bunk. That okay, I can't take that man or woman anymore because she bores me to death. Why does she bore you? Because she says things which is either she says in a very uninteresting way, very boring way, or whatever she is saying is not making any sense to you. It's not relevant to you. It's not of any use to you. So the key to make public speaking interesting is to make it relevant for the listener. And if he figures out, okay, this man is saying something which I can make use of, it can help me in getting some information, making something done, I will sit down and listen to him. So making it relevant is very important. The second part is that at times you may give all the relevant information, like most of our teachers do, or the say the Doordarshan news. I'll give you an example. They also used to give all the relevant information, solid information. We just switch it off. We watch private news channels. Why? They make it entertaining. They make it witty. Not that every private news channel nowadays they are doing it the right way. They are taking it to a different level. Leave that aside. But in most cases, you tend to go for that because they say the same thing in a exciting way, which arouse interest in you, or make it wittier, or make it funnier. So you have to choose these ways, that how to package what you say. First, you figure out what you have to say. Not necessarily you have to speak for hours. Fix your things that you want to say, package them in a way that grabs the attention. Say something very exciting at the beginning, which can stimulate people. Say something very provocative, and people will respond to you. They will listen to you. Or say something very witty or funny. Crack a joke to start. Laugh at yourself. If you laugh at yourself right at the beginning, which if you all have noticed, some great public speakers, some great celebrities often do that. They make fun of themselves. They crack a joke at themselves, and that's how everybody starts laughing and everybody relaxes. And that's the key. Means before anybody can attack you, before anybody can make fun of you, you make fun of yourself. So you cut out that possibility of facing an embarrassment in public speaking. So to sum up, knowledge and packaging, and these two things actually is relevant for all the six things that I have spoken about, 6 or 7 things. Knowledge, the key is knowledge, and gaining knowledge is a long-term process. Then packaging it, whether from the CV to the cover letter to the facing interview, or to your dress, or to anything that you do, is important. Is packaging. I'll just give you a very stupid example for what is packaging. Suppose you have a very nice suit, a expensive suit, tie, and everything. You look damn good in that. But in a hot July summer, if you go for an interview in Delhi wearing that suit, you are not packaging yourself right. You look stupid. You may, in the mirror in an AC room, you may look great, but to the interviewer or to the people, you will look stupid because you are not understanding the requirement of the weather. You are just trying to oversell yourself. So right packaging. I'm just randomly giving an example that having something, this suit is like the information that you have, the knowledge that you have. But where to do that, where to wear that, is knowing that is very important. And that's called packaging. So once you do the two things, gather the knowledge and package it well, all the 7 things you can ace, you can excel in everything. And with that, I will bring an end to this torture. I think I have spoken for nearly an hour, and hopefully I could make some sense to any of you. That would be great if I can make sense to at least one guy. Thank you, everyone. Over to the moderator now.
Thank you very much, Kaushik. I request all the participants We are going to unmute you if you kindly raise your hand. Our resource person, Kausik Deka, is with us to clarify your queries. If you have any query, please raise your hand so that we can unmute you from our side. Kausik, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, there is a specific question in the set box. I have seen how to prepare, because from our state point of view, how to prepare for a PSC exam. You have covered all these things. Still, some participant from our state wants to know how to prepare for a PSC.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yeah, you can proceed.
So APSC, again, I have never appeared for any of these. So whatever I say, don't take it as a gold standard. But considering my experience in different fields, what I can say is that APSC, the first thing is, again, a lifelong information gathering is always the key. Second part is that APSC has a syllabus. You know what to study. So you have to be very thorough with what you study. That is point one. And if you do that hard work, if you continuously study your course for at least a few hours every day and prepare yourself with writing skills, writing briefly and neatly, then your first part is one. Means you can crack the written part, mains, prelims, all that. That is with your information, hard work, you crack this part. Then comes, I'm assuming you clear the mains and everything, and you reach the interview level. And I believe that's probably the question is all about facing the interview in APSC. APSC interviews are, or civil service IAS interviews, are no different from any other interview, barring the fact that, as I had mentioned about civil service exam, a portion of the questioning will be related to your subject, a portion, which would not be a lot. And if you are good in what you have studied, if you have been thorough in your things, you would be able to answer most of them. And even if you cannot answer, say you ask 5 questions related to your subject and you couldn't answer one question, that doesn't make you, or 2 questions, that doesn't make you ineligible for qualification. Yes, how you respond not knowing means, for instance, if you don't know the answer, how you respond to that fact? Do you simply say that I just do not know, or you simply say that, okay, these are the things I have studied, but I probably didn't study this well, or I missed this. I'm afraid I do not have the correct answer to this. Yet, I think this could be a possible answer. At times, what happens, if you start thinking logically about a question, you might find the answer. That answer may be wrong, but what's the harm in giving an attempt? Here, it's not an speculation about your knowledge, because that has been tested in the main. Here it is how you react to a situation of not knowing an answer. Tomorrow, when you become a bureaucrat, there will be a situation where you may not have a solution, instant solution. But do you panic? Do you go mad about it, or do you try to think through it, or try to brainstorm for a solution? It's the same here. So most that's the those are the questions related to your subject. Beyond that, most of the questions will be to understand your personality, whether you have the aptitude to be a civil servant. And if you have that, you will crack it. If you do not have it, you would never crack it. So, if you are not meant to be a bureaucrat, if you do not have the aptitude to be in public service, then probably you have chosen your call in a wrong way. You haven't figured out what exactly you want it to be. But in most cases, if you have been a good observer, if you have been a good reader, and if you have been well aware of your surroundings, what's happening, and if you have an interest in public life, you'd crack it. You would know the answers. I hope I cleared it. Devojit, I can't hear you, Devojit.
Am I audible?
Yeah, now you are audible.
So I request participants to unmute yourself. Yeah, I can see Dimpy Das. Please proceed with your answer, with your query. Dimpy Das. Okay, there is another question. So what is there is another question I have seen in the chat box of YouTube live streaming. Hello. So am I audible? The network issues are there.
Devojit, I can hear you loud and clear. You said there is another question. What is the question? Shoot it, please.
Yeah, that is in YouTube live streaming. What is exactly? I cannot read out the words. So the gist is that how should we use the language while facing an interview? The standard of the language. I think she's asking about the standard of the language.
Standard of the language is pretty simple. The kind of language that you would use while speaking to a person who you meet for the first time, an educated person, when you meet for the first time, when you interact with another educated person, the kind of language that you use, it's the language, the formal type of conversation that you do. Of course, you must not use, I do not know why that's the rule, but that has been the rule, that you should not use some kind of informal word. So avoid using informal words that you probably use in your regular conversation, and you can understand, you can figure that out. What are the formal way of conversations? If you again, if you read regularly, if you read enough, reading is very important. Reading books is very important for any profession, whether you are a farmer or whether you are a businessman or whether you are a journalist or an engineer or doctor. Reading is very important. Reading means you are gathering information, and if you read books, you would know how to talk formally. So and don't be nervous about not knowing English. That's another issue. It's no big deal. English is just a language. The important part is whether you have the knowledge or not. What's the use if like a child born in England would speak only English? He may be the dumbest guy in the world. It's like you do not know Tamil. What's the big deal about it? Because you haven't learned the language. So don't worry about, don't let it bog down your own knowledge or your strength just because you are not comfortable in or fluent in English. It's just another language. There are multiple other languages to express yourself. You can try speaking in Assamese, Hindi, Bangla, Marathi, whatever language you use. Don't stress about the language. Stress about how you speak. Yes, even if you are speaking in Assamese, use the nicer form of Assamese, not the colloquial or the informal way of talking, like the way you talk among friends. Don't do that. Probably when you think, when you would meet your father's friend or someone like that, or your teacher, the kind of language that you use, polite, straight, formal language, it's pretty easy. Don't think it as you are going to face something out of the world. It's just like sitting down for a conversation with some 3, 4, 5 elderly people. In most cases, in some cases you would find very young people. So having a conversation is not something you need to fret about. Yes, there was it.
Thank you. I can see some Avijit Singh. Please unmute yourself. You raised your hand. If you can hear my voice, Abhijit Singh, we have unmuted you from our side. Please unmute yourself and proceed with your query. So there is nobody in the participants list that raise their hands. So I request Mayuri Bora, one of the coordinator of the workshop, to continue. Mayuri Bora, please, can you hear me?
Yes. Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear.
Thank you, respected Mr. Kosing Teka, for your
Thank you.
resourceful and impressive speech and a valuable interactive session. All our participants of our target group are benefited a lot. As told earlier, we have participants from every corner of the country, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, and their comments in the chat boxes of Zoom as well as YouTube live streaming throughout the session reflects how they are benefited from this session. I truly express my gratitude to you for accepting our invitation besides your busy schedule of professional liabilities.
Thank
We
you so
really
much.
feel honored to have you in this virtual platform. Thank you again. And now I request our head of the department, Puspa Dhandia ma'am, to offer her vote of thanks. Ma'am, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. Respected dignitaries and participants, I am Mrs. Puspa Dhandia, another coordinator for the National Workshop on Capacity Building for College and University Students and Young Job Aspirants, organized by the Department of History, Borhula College, in collaboration with IQAC. I thank our patron, Mr. Pradeep Kumar Hoikia sir, President of the governing body, and Mr. Biren Dutta sir, Principal of our college, for the overall cooperation and advice they provided us for hosting the student-centric event. I especially thank our Principal sir for his inaugural speech. I am thankful to Dr. Archana Bhattacharya ma'am, the resource person for the first day, who have enlightened and motivated the young participants in a very fruitful way. I am also thankful to Mr. Kosik Deka sir, the resource person for today's session, whose valuable and resourceful speech has benefited all the participants a lot. I am sure the wisdom and knowledge they have acquired today will be carried forward to their future life. We shall remain grateful to both of you forever and feel really honored to have both of you amongst us. We have participants from all over the country, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, and I thank all of you for your active participation in the workshop. I thank Dr. Rana Bora, Coordinator IQSC, Mr. Dilip Kumar Khaun, Assistant Professor, Department of Sociology, Mr. Devajit Dora, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Mr. Diju Kumar Neog, and Mr. Roktim Ranjan Mahanto, Technical Associates, for your active and energetic involvement in the successful completion of the event. I am grateful to all the faculty members and students of my department. Last but not the least, I offer my heartiest thanks to all my colleagues from different academic as well as administrative departments who have encouraged us to host this event for the benefit of the student community. At last, I thank you all again and declare the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, our honorable resource person. Thank you, organizers. Thank you, organizing team, and all the dear participants. Actually, we have received a very good response from all over the country, from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. It is very much proud for us, and we have received around 700 participants. It is also another positive aspect for us. Thank you all. With these few words, I'd like to conclude today's session. Thank you again.
Thank you.